Night, 15 men ignite a terrifying sequence of events that would shock a nation.
Phone rings in the house. It spells trouble.
With an arsenal of weapons stolen and hostages held at gunpoint,
Ini dekat kubu kamu.
security forces have just 5 days to capture the culprits and bring an end to Malaysia's deadly arms heist.
Get them to surrender without any firefight.
Located north of the Malaysian capital city of Kuala Lumpur is the town of Grig. On a normal night, at this hour, most people would be asleep. But tonight, football fans are up watching the Euro 2000 Championship. And for the 15 men in this convoy, football is the furthest thing from their minds. Posing as military officers, they are headed towards nearby Kuala Rui Army Camp. When they arrive, the outpost guards are surprised, but ask no questions. No one suspects a heist. But over the course of the next 2 hours, these 15 men manage to carry out an arms heist, which will shock the nation, stealing an arsenal of military weapons from 2 army camps. "360 kilometers south of Grig, Kuala Lumpur is waking up. Being a Sunday, all is relatively quiet at the Malaysian Army base camp. Army Field Commander General Zaini Mohammed Said is at home watching the news. If anything should go wrong, he is the first to know about it.
8:15 in the morning, Sunday, 2nd of July. Phone rings in the house. I mean, it spells trouble.
It is one of Zaini's subordinates. He is calling to report news of the heist.
And he related to me that a number of men in 3 Pajeros came to the camp. And these men were dressed perfectly in military uniform, berets, military ranks, wanting to do surprise inspection to check on the security of weapons in the camp.
More than 100 high-powered weapons and thousands of ammunition rounds have been stolen, enough to start a major uprising.
I've never had that kind of reports ever in my whole service life in the military. It sank on me very quickly that this is a big, huge problem.
By 11 a.m., General Zaini is airlifted out of Kuala Lumpur.
When I was in the helicopter, I was wondering who the perpetrators were, who are these people that actually did this heist, and how to get them, how to locate, how to detect them, and once we detected them, how to handle and apprehend, if not neutralize them, and recover the weapons.
Security forces must recover the weapons as soon as possible. Guerrilla groups in neighboring countries are willing to pay up to $200,000 for the stolen arsenal. Even worse, the weapons could be used against the Malaysian government. Tomorrow, Malaysia's top leaders, including Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad, will be meeting 60 kilometers from the crime scene. Police Commissioner Abdul Hadi Mahmud suspects a connection between the weapons heist and the meeting.
It is safe to presume that there is a connection. So it is up to us to ensure that nothing untoward happens to this particular group at any time. If anything happens to this particular group, then the country will be put into chaos. And the police cannot afford that. We cannot afford that.
The police have started blocking off every major road surrounding the army camps where the heist took place. The case is under police jurisdiction, but the army wants to provide support.
I took it as also my problem. It was my weapons, it was my camp, our reputation, the military was at stake. and the security of the country was also at stake.
Sauk village is a 1-hour drive from the crime scene. A close-knit community of over 700 residents. This morning, villagers report hearing gunshots coming from Janalik Hill behind the primary school. The Royal Malaysian Police dispatch a team of intelligence officers to investigate. Detective Corporal Sagadevan Raju and Corporal Dola are first to arrive on the scene. Sagadevan borrows a motorbike to scout the hilly terrain. A third detective, Sergeant Muhammad Shah, is last to arrive.
Sesampai saya di Bukit Jenalik, saya pun langsung terus bertanya kepada Corporal Dola di mana Sagadevan. Corporal Dola beritahu bahawa Sagadevan telah memasuki kawasan hutan di Bukit Jenalik untuk membuat tinjauan.
The trail leads into a rubber tree plantation and a durian orchard. At the top is Janalik Hill.
Saya pun terus bertindak untuk mengekori jejak Sagadevan dengan melalui lorong yang dilalui oleh Corporal Sagadevan. Saya kelihatan Sagadevan dengan motosikal mendaki bukit menuju ke atas. Saya langsung terus menuju dan menahan Corporal Sagadevan kerana ini akan mengancam nyawa kita.
But before they can turn back, someone fires at them.
Saya dengan Sagadevan terkejut waktu itu. Tiba-tiba keluar seorang dengan memakai pakaian seragam celoring dengan lengkap senjata, tetapi saya terpandang di kepalanya tidak memakai topi tetapi memakai serban. Lalu anggota itu terus bertanya kepada saya, kenapa awak masuk tempat latihan tentera sulit ni? Dalam pemikiran saya, kenapa tentera ada latihan sulit? Jadi langsung anggota tersebut kata, okey, sekarang turun dari motor, ikut saya naik ke atas, jumpa dengan ketua saya.
Muhammad Shah hopes to clear up any misunderstanding with the leader.
Jadi bila saya naik atas, saya dengar anggota mengatakan bahawa kita dapat tangkap seorang musuh. Saya terkejut. Kenapa saya jadi musuh? Ketua itu tadi mengarahkan anggotanya membuat pemeriksaan. Langsung dia bila periksa di belakang, terjumpalah saya punya dompet. Jadi dalam dompet saya tu terus dia buka, dia tengok ada autoriti, kad kuasa polis saya kan. Jadi kad kuasa polis inilah terus dia, Tuan Syekh, anggota polis. Itu kan saya dah cakap, memang tali barut kerajaan. Itu yang ketua dia marah, arahkan. Dipijak saya, dan waktu tu juga tembakan 2 das di sebelah telinga. Sewaktu saya menyaram tepi telinga kan, dia tembak 2 kali. Waktu tu saya fikir memang saya tak ada harapan untuk memang mati.
At the bottom of the hill, Corporal Dola has not heard from his colleagues. He reports back to headquarters.
Gerakan Kuala Kangsar, Pengelang, over.
The police have a lot on their hands, a national security threat, stolen weapons, and now missing police officers. Who are these gunmen, and what exactly do they want? North of Kuala Lumpur, an arsenal of military weapons is missing in Malaysia. Stolen by an unknown group of men posing as army officers. Near where the heist took place, 2 police officers, Detectives Sagadevan and Muhammad Shah, have also disappeared after responding to shots fired on Janalik Hill. Security forces are on high alert. Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad issues a statement.
Kita memandang ini sebagai satu perkara yang serius. Kita belum tahu lagi sebab-sebab rampasan ini diadakan dan kita yakin kita dapat menguasai keadaan.
Behind the school, at the top of Janalik Hill, 30 heavily armed men patrol their camp. Missing policemen Sagadevan and Muhammad Shah are being held against their will. They are ordered to start digging trenches.
dalam masa saya gali dengan sang pun dia beritahu, ini dia kata kubur kamu. Dalam keadaan saya menggali itu, saya rasakan seolah-olah, memang tak ada harapan ni untuk hidup lah. Kubur dah siap, kita yang gali sendiri. Waktu itu saya sudah hilang pemikiran saya. Saya rasa ibarat macam melayang saja, seolah-olah separuh daripada nyawa kita ni dah pergi untuk matilah. Memang tak ada harapan.
Nearby, a villager named Jafar Pute is collecting durians for sale at the local market. But this morning, he stumbles upon a gunman.
Masa gali-gali tiba-tiba terdengar, kita dapat tangkap musuh. Tiba-tiba dia datang bawa. Jadi saya tak kenal, dia bawa dekat saya, tunjuk, kau kenal orang ni? Saya tak kenal.
Along with Muhammad Shah and Sagadevan, villager Jafar is told to start digging too. After more than 20 hours of roadblocks, the police dragnet still hasn't turned up any gunmen or stolen weapons. By afternoon, Army Field Commander General Zaini gets his first break in the crime case. Someone has contacted the Army via an Army-issued radio set.
We got a message from them. He was speaking by radio, and basically the message said, we are the one who did it. We think that the government is un-Islamic. We don't like, I think, the leadership. We are strong, and we have many of the cities in the country surrounded by thousands of our people.
The message stops short of identifying the gunman. On Janalik Hill, Mohammed Shah and Sagadevan are still missing. Unexplained gunfire and sightings of soldiers in the vicinity have been reported. Police and Army intelligence suspect there's a connection. Army Field Commander General Zaini moves quickly to contain the area. He orders a tight cordon of over 2,000 Army personnel to surround Janalik Hill. By nightfall, the Army drops large numbers of their elite commandos at the Janalik Primary School field. Meanwhile, security forces take over the school. This will be the command center until the investigation is over.
My aim was that by midnight or latest 0100 hours, the cordon should be in place.
At 11 p.m., Army commandos are deployed into the fruit orchards behind the school. The darkness of the night and unfamiliar terrain makes securing the area more difficult than expected. It's not until first light that the cordon is secured.
I was happy the minute a message came. The cordon is in place. No one escaped.
A reconnaissance team of 5 commandos is dispatched to gather intelligence. They report back to General Zaini that the entire group of gunmen is in fact contained on the hill.
Initially, we were thinking of just 2 or 3 personnel. The whole group was there. I can tell you, until today, I felt the sense of relief, the sense of joy or thrill, at the fact that we got the whole group within the cordon.
But Zaini also receives disturbing news. The gunmen have hostages. They may be the 2 missing policemen.
These hostages serve a purpose. It's a shield for them. It's just a bargaining chip for them. We're not certain, even if we negotiate with them, that they would actually return the hostages safe and sound. It adds on to the worry and the problem at hand.
A second team of reconnaissance commandos is sent in. Unfortunately, they come too close to the gunman's hideout. The gunmen open fire. 2 commandos are caught in the crossfire. One is wounded but manages to escape. The other isn't so lucky.
Jadi sewaktu saya menggali lubang, tiba-tiba kedengaran suara lagi mengatakan, Tuan Syekh, dia melaporkan kepada ketuanya, Tuan Syekh, kita tak dapat tangkap seorang musuh lagi. Tiba-tiba saya nampak 1 orang yang berpakaian lengkap, celuring tentera, Dia bawa ke hadapan ketua dia.
It is the Army Reconnaissance Commando. The bandage around his arm differentiates between Army and gunmen.
Ketua kumpulan ini bertanya kepada anggota askar yang dia kata musuh tu, kenapa ni kamu datang masuk sini? Siapa ketua kamu? Lepas tu terdengar lagi dia memberi amaran, kamu mau bekerjasama ke tidak dengan kita? Kalau tak bagi kerjasama, kita bunuh awak. Jadi anggota ni tidak bercakap, diam.
The interrogation continues, but the commando refuses to disclose any information. He is tortured, shot in the legs, one at a time.
Ketua kumpulan perompak ni timbul kemarahan. Bila timbul kemarahan, dia arahkan satu orang anggota daripada kumpulan perompak ni, tembak dia.
The last shot comes from the back, killing the commando.
Salah seorang daripada anggota perompak ni mengarahkan saya supaya mengangkat mayat anggota tentera ni dan masukkan ke dalam lubang yang sedia digali. Sebelum saya buka baju, saya terlihatlah nama dia, Matthew. Dengan dia tulis RGK, Regimen Gerak Khas Komando lah. Dia kata campakkan aja. Jadi saya dengan segala benda ni ingat ambil, masukkan dalam keadaan baik, rapi lah duduk tu, tapi dia tak bagi. Jadi saya pun dengan segala dia pun terus kambus tanah.
Corporal Matthew Anak Maidan was 25 years old. His commanding officer, General Zaini, was not aware of his capture at the time.
I might have executed a rescue operation if I had known it earlier, although now it is a fact that it might have been futile because Matthews was apparently caught and quickly tortured and killed.
Sewaktu saya dan Sagaribun menanamkan mayat Matthew ni ke dalam lubang, saya terfikir kenapa sekejam ini dia membunuh Matthew. Jadi saya terfikir juga mungkin saya pun akan berlaku sedemikian juga.
Security forces must rescue the remaining hostages before any more lives are lost. Having stolen over 100 high-powered military weapons and an arsenal of ammunition, 30 gunmen are entrapped on Janalik Hill near the village of Sauk. Thousands of police and army officers have them surrounded. The gunmen are holding 3 hostages and have killed 1 army commando, but their identity is still unknown until one villager steps forward.
The big break in this particular case was when the police detained a kampung guy at the location, and he was brought to the police station, and we found out that he was related. In fact, he was the brother of the leader of this group. That was the big break that we were looking for. We wanted to know who our enemy were, or what was the threat that was causing all these things.
Police discover that the gunmen are members of an Islamic deviationist movement called Al-Ma'una. A former legal advisor to Al-Ma'una explains their makeup.
Initial objektif kumpulan Al-Ma'una ni ialah untuk mengajar ilmu persilatan dan ilmu perubatan. On surface, physically, kumpulan Al-Ma'una ni legally registered. Kemudian dalam latihan-latihan persilatan, dibuat secara openly dekat padang-padang sekolah.
The man behind Al-Ma'una is Muhammad Amin. He is believed to be a powerful shaman, a mystic who possesses supernatural martial arts abilities.
They claim that Amin boleh terbang atas tiang elektrik, Amin boleh berjalan atas air. Kelebihan Amin tu menyebabkan orang mengatakan dia ni a saint, seorang wali Allah.
But there was a darker side to Al-Ma'una. Because of Amin's abilities, he attracted many loyal followers. Over time, Amin was able to lead them like a cult. Throughout his leadership, Amin influenced followers by refusing to share his wisdom unless they obeyed faithfully to what was known as the secret within.
Rahsia dalam rahsia atau the secret within bermaksud apa saja yang keluar daripada mulut pemimpin, apa saja arahan yang datang daripada pemimpin, pengikut tak boleh question, kena obey, kena taat sebab mereka percaya apa saja yang ada dalam kepala pemimpin hanya Allah saja yang tahu. Tapi Amin memberitahu pengikut-pengikut dia, kalau nak dapatkan ilmu persilatan yang tinggi dan ilmu perubatan yang tinggi, dia kena ikut dia punya fasa-fasa dia. So dia ada 7 phase. So ahli-ahli dia yang eager nakkan ilmu perubatan dan persilatan ni, they follow. When it comes to 7, Amin kata the army will come in a joint venture training with this Al-Mahunah member.
Amin has duped his followers into conducting the heist, and now they are on top of Janalik Hill, armed with over 100 military weapons and thousands of ammunition rounds. Meanwhile, the police raid a nearby house. They find clues revealing the identity of the gunman, but also meticulous plans of a military arms heist.
That was the time when I started to suspect they were more than just gunmen, but maybe militants.
The fact that this is a cult group is very important because we have got a cult psychology coming into play now. Where we have got a few leaders and generally the rest are followers. And we have got to find ways and means to break the hold of the leaders on the followers.
To break Amin's hold, police execute one of their most effective tactics in psychological warfare. They set up a loudspeaker behind the school where the command center is and blast music towards the gunman's hideout. The song they pick is about family and love.
The song was played, the dead silent, and I was worried. Are they listening to it? Are they hearing it? And then 2 or 3 loud explosions came, and it was on the field. It didn't bother me because I knew they are listening, hearing the songs, and they are being affected by that tactic because they fight back.
At 2 a.m., the police bring in family members of the militants.
From our information that these are working people, they have got their families, their wives and kids, they have got their careers. So units of the police goes all over the country to contact these people and bring them to the forward control center at the school, where we try to get them to talk to their husbands who are on the hill.
It's an emotional time for the families.
I felt also sad, especially to listen to the daughter appealing to the father, "Papa, come back home," like any child would, asking innocently for the father to come home.
Upon Janalik Hill, police hostage Muhammad Shah also hears the pleas.
Tiba-tiba dengar orang bercakap. Orang cakap, "Ayah, keluarlah ayah, menyerah dirilah ayah." Rupanya yang bercakap ni anak kepada salah seorang daripada anggota kumpulan merompak ni menyampaikan mesej kepada ayah dia yang berada di dalam supaya menyerah diri, supaya keluar daripada dalam hutan ni. Dia kata kalau ayah mati, dia cakap adik lah, budak kecil adik tak boleh nak sekolah ya. Tak ada siapa nak bantu adik ya. Mak tak kerja ya. Tiba-tiba saya tengok seorang daripada anggota kumpulan perompak ni menangis.
Bila masanya mereka ni sedar yang sebenarnya ini bukan training lah dengan tentera. that is when the army bawa salah seorang isteri anggota Al-Maunah bercakap dengan Heller. Tapi at that particular time, Amin kata siapa yang keluar, dia tembak. Dia akan bunuh.
By the next morning, there are no surrenders.
And that made me believe that Amin, or the leader, has some kind of strong control over the group.
The security forces are not giving up. With more family members pleading, the militants' resolve will break sooner or later. Back at the top of Janalik Hill, police hostages Muhammad Shah, his partner Saga Devan, and villager Jafar are tied to a durian tree. Muhammad Shah recalls Amin and one of his men walking past him to go to the river.
Tiba-tiba saya dengar satu tembakan. Tang. Jadi saya tengok anggota yang mengekori ketua kumpulan ni jatuh. Lepas tu saya dengar dia jerit. Ketua kumpulan ni jerit. Dia kata, musuh dah tembak kita. Ya.
The gunman is wounded and the leader is furious. He vents his anger on police hostage Saga Devan.
Selepas selangkah daripada tempat di mana saya ikat tu, jadi waktu tu saya terdengar 2 tembakan di belakang saya. Lepas tembakan tu saya terasa di belakang ni ada rasa macam percikan. Orang kumpulan perempuan itu turun kepada saya. Dia lepaskan tangan saya, ikatan saya di sini, dan dia beritahu kepada saya buka tangan awak, ambil mayat di belakang, tanam. Dan fikiran saya, dia pun dah mati ke? Jadi bila saya pusing belakang, dah tengok saudara dua ni, terasa macam saya nak jatuh lah. Tengok keadaan rupa dia yang tak ada rupa manusia lagi, sudah pecah kepala dia, habis hancur. Saya terpaksa angkat Kopasara Debon ni bersama-sama dengan orang kampung ni dan masukkan ke dalam lubang di mana Matthew tanam. Jadi selepas saya menanam mayat Saga Debon ni, saya disuruh mandi, bersihkan diri apa semua. Dia suruh saya buat sembahyang. Jadi saya terfikir terlintas, kenapa dia suruh buat saya macam ni? Dia kata, selepas ini giliran kamu. Tapi kita tak akan bagi tahu bila waktunya kita akan bunuh. Waktu itu saya terasa teramat takut sekali lah. Dan waktu itu juga saya terbayang lah anak bini saya, muka mak bapak saya terpampang depan. Memang nampak. Jadi seolah-olah memang ajal maut tu dah sampai untuk saya.
Later that day, the police hold a press conference revealing the group's identity. The Inspector General of Police, Norian Mai, is overall commander of the case.
Mereka yang terlibat di dalam kes ini adalah daripada kumpulan ilmu, mengamalkan ilmu batin yang mempunyai motif politik atau motif yang tertentu.
Dia tak percaya dengan politik yang ada hari ini. Yang dia nampak yang boleh tegakkan negara Islam adalah dengan cara kekerasan. Dan dia mendakwa kerajaan yang ada hari ini korup, un-Islamik sebab tak nak implement Islamic law.
The Prime Minister issues an ultimatum. Security forces have 24 hours to end the crisis, with 0 casualties. So far, the use of pleading families had not broken the militants' resolve. The commanders must now heighten their game of intimidation.
Well, the order came that the cordon fire into the sky that night to harass, again to so-called put them off their footing, maybe not to let them get enough sleep.
Pada malam keempat, saya diarahkan duduk di atas permatang bersama-sama dengan kumpulan perompak. Waktu itu saya tidak diikat, cuma diawasi dari jauh saja. Tiba-tiba terdengar tembakan bertubi-tubi.
At 8 p.m., the harassment fire begins. Hundreds of flares and thousands of bullets are fired into the sky, turning night into day.
Jadi tembakan itu ada yang bercahaya, ada yang api kan. Jadi memang terang, keadaan itu terang. Jadi saya dalam keadaan ketakutan menyelamatkan diri dan duduk berhampiran dengan Pajero. Dan saya nampak waktu itu beberapa orang ahli anggota kumpulan perompak ni melarikan diri. Ada yang masuk dalam lubang, ada yang nyuruk di belakang kereta Pajero tu menyelamatkan diri. Terdengar suara daripada ketua dia mengatakan, jangan takut, kita jangan takut. Kalau kita mati pun perjuangan kita ni syahid.
Can security forces destabilize the militants and end the crisis by morning? It's day 5 of the arms heist, and security forces are under orders by the Prime Minister to end the crisis by 6 p.m. today. Over 100 military weapons and thousands of ammunition rounds are missing, stolen by the militant group Al Mauna. The militants have holed themselves up on top of Chinalik Hill with 4 hostages, 2 of whom are already dead. After another night of psychological harassment, the gunmen have had little sleep. This morning, according to police hostage Mohammed Shah, 2 militants cannot take the pressure anymore.
Pada pagi itu, ketua perompak ni telah mengarahkan satu anggota dia untuk beritahu kepada tukang masak membuat air kan. Bila dia anggota tu pergi ke bawah melihat tukang masak dah tak ada. Jadi dia balik bagi tahu, Tuan Syekh, kita punya tukang masak dah tak ada, dah lari. Wah, inilah perjuangan kita satu-satunya. Perjuangan kita, ada yang takut, ada yang tak berani. Sedangkan perjuangan kita adalah perjuangan mati syahid.
The army cordon intercepts the missing militants. General Zaini reacts to the good news.
I was exhilarated. I was happy because it means that the operation beginning to show effect, and it's fitting on our plan. Our plan's working, meaning we're getting people to come down to surrender.
One of them said that, well, Amin doesn't talk much, but he said, you have got also to be afraid of my gun, not only the security gun. So this implies that Amin is also at that particular time knows that his hold on his people is very loose now.
But to capture the remaining militants, security forces may have to launch an assault. The police call upon 69 Commando, their elite team trained in jungle warfare. Abdul Razak Mohammed Yusuf leads the squadron. His first mission is to determine the viability of using tear gas to flush out the militants.
Setelah berada di pos akhir yang paling hampir sekali dengan kedudukan musuh, saya pun mengarahkan anggota saya melakukan tinjauan rapat, hampiri secara taktikal ke tempat musuh. Semua berpendapat yang tembakan gas menyemata tak sesuai lah dalam operasi yang macam ni dengan keadaan muka bumi. Jadi saya pun suruh anggota saya monitor alat perhubungan, keadaan sebenar apa yang berlaku.
Razak radios in his situation and learns about the capture of the 2 militants. He prepares his men for more deserters.
Mengikut kebiasaan, kalau ada yang dah berpaling tadah, masih ada ramai lagi lah yang akan berbuat demikian. Jadi sebab itulah saya mengarahkan kumpulan saya untuk mengadakan kawalan serapat yang boleh di kawasan musuh tu. Dan kalau ada pihak musuh yang melepasi kawalan kita tu, kita akan tangkap dan bawa dia ke pihak keselamatan untuk tindakan selanjutnya.
By 1:30 p.m., Razak and his team have reached the river. Just beyond is the militants' hideout.
Saya sendiri pun berpendapat supaya saya berada paling hampir di kawasan musuh tu untuk monitor keadaan lah. Jadi kalau saya berada di tempat yang paling hampir, saya akan mendapat pandangan yang lebih tepat tentang keadaan musuh. Bila sampai tempat yang saya rasakan agak berbahaya, saya akan serahkan diri saya sepenuhnya kepada Tuhan lah. Kemudian saya boleh dengar suara dia orang bercakap-cakap dengan terang. Dan finally, saya sampai dekat batu. Saya rasa, saya dah cukup hampir dengan pihak musuh pada masa itu.
To Razak's surprise, one of the militants descends to the river.
Salah seorang pada anggota musuh ni menghampiri ke sungai lebih kurang 3 meter daripada tempat saya berlindung di belakang batu tu. Bila saya tengok dia sedang mengambil air sembahyang, saya sendiri merasakan ini kalau aku tembak orang tengah nak sembahyang ni satu kesalahan besar. Saya berdoa dalam hati saya, Allah Tuhanku, biarlah dia menyerah. Dan saya tak tahu sama ada itu dia menangkap intuisi saya. Dan bila dia pandang saya, yang saya sedang menenang senjata kepada dia, dia kata, jangan tembak teman. Assalamualaikum, jangan tembak teman, katanya. Teman mujahidin. Jadi saya pun katakan pada dia, takkan teman nak tembak, kan? Tapi menyerahlah. Jadi dia pun jawab, memang teman nak menyerah, tapi biar teman mandi dulu, katanya. Itulah mulanya perundingan saya dengan pihak Al-Mu'minah.
Police hostage Muhammad Shah remembers Razak well.
Saya waktu tu tengah kena menggali lubang. Jadi terdengar suara orang bagi salam. Assalamualaikum. Siapa pula ni berani masuk sini kan? Dengan pakaian hijau, dengan bawa senjata. Perasaan saya agak rasa yakinlah bahawa mungkin orang datang nak menyelamatkan saya.
But while Razak negotiates with the militant, more armed men come down the hill.
Dan pada masa yang sama, anggota saya yang berada di belakang saya melihat keadaan saya mungkin tertekan. Saya tak dapat nak cope up dengan jumlah musuh yang datang ramai, lebih kurang 6 ke 7 orang. Jadi dia orang pun turun nak bagi covering kepada saya.
It turns out that the militant is Zahid Muslim, a friend to one of Razak's men.
Kebetulan masa tu Zaid telah ternampak salah seorang pada anggota saya tu sambil berkata, orang kamu teman pun ada, dan mereka berpeluk-pelukan. Bila dipanggil kumpulan musuh yang lain datang untuk menyerahkan diri, kan, dia orang tengok si Zaid dengan anggota saya berpeluk-pelukan, dia orang pun berpelukan sama dengan kumpulan saya lah, seolah-olah macam dah kenal lama. Itu mungkin ini act of God lah, kan, menurut takdir untuk jadikan keadaan itu lebih kondusif.
Zahid and his men surrender their weapons.
All of us have got one option, that is, if possible, get them to surrender without any firefight, because we know what will be the outcome of the firefight. So Razak, on his own initiative, tried to get them to surrender, and in this particular case, he succeeded. He succeeded very well.
Tetapi hati saya masih berdetik sebab saya tak tahu jumlah sebenar kumpulan musuh ni, dan yang datang lebih kurang 6-7 orang. Dan sebab tu saya tanyakan macam mana dengan yang di atas, yang lain-lain.
Razak's aim is to get to the group's leader.
Jadi saya tanya siapa nama ketua tu. Dia kata Amin. Dia kata, hampa ni kumpulan silat ke? Dan dia jawab, ya, kumpulan silat, kumpulan Al-Mu'minah. Okey lah, tak apa. Kalau macam tu biar saya sendiri yang pergi jumpa.
Alone, without backup, Razak ascends up Janalik Hill.
Dan saya pun pergi bagi salam dan berjabat tangan dengan setiap anggota yang ada bersama dengannya lah. Sambil salam tu saya pun bagi gesture yang selalu ni semua ni saya dah pernah tengok ni dalam majalah, saya katakan.
Razak is also a martial artist, and he remembers reading about the Al-Mauna in a martial arts magazine. The article provides a clue to disarming Amin via the teachings of Islam.
Objektif saya ialah untuk Amin menyerah diri secara baik. Kami pun berdialog lah, berbincang tentang justifikasi apa yang beliau lakukan tu. Adakah menurut ajaran Islam sebenarnya ataupun tidak.
Police Commando Razak is surprised by an unexpected disturbance coming from the school at the foot of Janalik Hill. A loudspeaker crackles to life.
This is General Zaini. I am the Army Field Commander. You better surrender, otherwise we are going to assault.
It's 3 p.m. With only 4 hours of daylight left, the Army assault team is on standby. Meanwhile, back on Janalik Hill, Razak manages to convince the Al-Mauna members to surrender their weapons. Everyone except for Amin, the leader. He wants to pray first. Razak radios the message back to the command center.
I say, what more? You know what I mean? Here you are cornered and all that. You want to do delays more. I know what you're trying to do, and that worries me. Because we don't want, because the pressure building up not just on us but more on him, and we must maintain the pressure on him. We must not let him to think. Zoho prayers he may reflect. The reminder came again at that point in time. We have to finish this quickly. We must finish it by last light from Tan Sri, from the IGP. And I said, in that case, sir, we have to attack now.
Pressured to act, the security forces led by the commanders have no choice but to storm the hill. The armored personnel carriers are dispatched.
Bila terdengar APC naik, diorang dah mula berasa gundah. Dan yang mana yang letakkan senjata, ambil balik senjata diorang. Saya dah janji supaya keadaan yang takkan ada sebarang kejadian yang buruk pada diorang. Saya kata saya akan korbankan diri saya sendiri untuk keselamatan diorang. Tapi bila APC yang naik, dengan bunyi APC yang menggegarkan bumi itu kan, 4 buah APC itu, kemudian bila rem dibuka, turun pasukan dengan cara agresif kan, menghala kepada pihak Al-Maunah ni, yang semakin menakutkan diorang lah. Bila diorang pergi ambil senjata, saya terpaksa sabarkan diorang, tarik yang mana yang mampu saya tarik, kata jangan lawan. Dan bila kumpulan tentera masuk, saya terpaksa pergi kepada diorang pula, masuklah menggalang ni, kata masuk cara aman. Diorang sudah pun menyerah diri. Saya katakan kalau jadi apa-apa pun jadilah, saya kata. Biar saya yang terkorban, tapi jangan ada pertumpahan darah yang lain. Saya katakan itulah.
Razak is caught between the militants and the approaching assault team. This is Razak's worst nightmare. 5 of the crisis on Janalik Hill. 30 gunmen and 2 hostages are surrounded by thousands of security personnel. Police Commando Razak is negotiating a surrender when Army General Zaini and Police Commissioner Hadi arrive with an assault team. The negotiation is now at a standoff. Razak hands over control to his superior, Hadi.
Kemudian saya pun pergi kepada Tuan Hadi. Saya pun brief lah Tuan Hadi, kata that is their leader, that is their leader. Saya kata, but careful Tuan, he is mentally unstable, saya katakan.
I say that word strike my mind. I say because number one is that Mat Amin has lost a fight. He has lost control of what's happening all the while for the past 4 or 5 days. He thought that he was in control. Now suddenly that he found out that he was alone.
General Zaini recalls his first meeting with Amin.
When I came face to face with Amin, kind of neutral about things initially, and I continued saying, let's surrender. Enough, enough with this whole thing. Let's go down the hill. Basically, he said, do not panic, don't be too hasty in Malay, and let's stop.
Amin, armed with a rifle and a grenade launcher, stubbornly refuses to surrender.
And then he finally came up with this statement saying, let us be. I said, what do you mean? Let us be here. Immediately I said, that's not possible. That cannot be. That must have upset him.
Amin suddenly draws his weapon.
I remember seeing the barrel of the gun going for my left abdomen. I was fearful, this cold feeling in myself. Say, oh man, this man is crazy. I'm going to die this time.
Meanwhile, security forces rescue villager Jafar and policeman Muhammad Shah and lead them to safety.
Dalam perjalanan, saya terdengar satu dah tembakan. Tapi saya tak tahu apa yang berlaku di atas. Yang saya dengar cuma jeritan daripada pasukan keselamatan, medik tu je.
Shot went, and I saw from the corner of my right eye, the shot hit one of their men.
The shot misfires, wounding one of Amin's men. Zaini instinctively grabs Amin and grapples him to the ground.
That signal for the rest of them to be taken down as well.
By 5 p.m., the security forces have captured all 30 Al-Mauna militants. Many of them are clearly stunned by the turn of events.
When I went down the hill and look at all the people that we have arrested, I look at their faces and say, you don't look like terrorists to me. They were just misled. And I was happy that they do not lose their lives.
Of the 4 hostages, only Muhammad Shah and Jafar are alive. The stolen weapons are all accounted for.
I think it's a good joint operation. And I suppose the relief is we have completed it successfully.
A few weeks later, Jafar dies of an unknown illness, leaving Muhammad Shah as the only surviving key witness at the court trial. Amin and his men are charged for committing treason against the King of Malaysia. They are the first in Malaysian history to be charged under this act. The 15 members of Al-Mauna who were directly involved in the heist are sentenced to life in prison. The remaining militants are sentenced to 10 years. Amin and his 3 deputies are found guilty and sentenced to death. All 4 men are hanged in 2006.
We may think that we are prepared all the time. We may think so, but only to be made to realize that you can still be caught by surprise by something that you least or you never did expect that would happen.
An evening that began with a football match turned into the start of an arms heist that gripped an entire nation. It took 5 days and over 3,000 security personnel to bring the crisis to its peaceful end. But 2 hostages were killed, Army Corporal Matthew Anak Medan and Police Detective Corporal Sagadevan.
Gugurnya dia, saya merasakan satu kehilangan seorang anggota yang berdedikasi lah, dan seorang kawan yang begitu baik.
Matthew's body was brought back to his hometown. Matthew and Sagadevan each receive a Medal of Honor posthumously. Police Commissioner Hadi and Police Officer Muhammad Shah are also recognized for their heroic actions. The highest Medal of Honor, however, goes to Police Commando Razak and Army General Zaini for their selfless contributions in securing the peace. The 31st of July every year is Warriors' Day. The memorial service, attended by the Prime Minister of Malaysia, acknowledges the sacrifices of the country's fallen heroes. Although General Zaini and Muhammad Shah never met during the crisis, they will share a bond for the rest of their lives.